Okay, today's tutorial is going to be about editing Mario. Been requested a few times, so I'm just going to do a quick tutorial just to cover the basics. Most things you will find in my original importing exporting tutorial, so that is probably required watching, so watch that before diving into this tutorial. In Mario's case, you don't actually have to do anything special to import him into Blender. All you need to do is download the latest FAST64 and grab the Mario blend that comes bundled with. Bury the Dead, the creator of FAST64, was nice enough to bundle it in, so use that as your base. I'll open it up, and this is what you get. You get Mario with all his parts and everything all rigged up, switches and everything ready to go, so you don't really have to do much outside of this. Alright, I'm going to switch over to this viewport shading view. It's scene lighting to scene world. As you can see, there's Mario's hatless head, his different hand shapes, his hand holding the hats. This over here is his metal texture. You can pretty much ignore that. I'll just hit H to hide that up. And get rid of this light and this camera. For now, I'm going to hide these. Okay, so as you can see, Mario is folded up into a little ball or cube or whatever you want to call it. This is the game's rest pose. So this is essentially the T-pose of the game. All of the models in Mario 64 have weird T-poses like this, and you need to make sure that when you're exporting, he is exactly in this pose, because animations basically apply rotation to the rest pose. So if this rest pose is different, all the existing animations will apply weirdly in game and he'll be all weird and twisted. From here you can start rigging it up even in this folded up form. I applied the model from my mod in this folded up form. It's not hard, but my model was a fairly simple model. But that said, it might be difficult for some to wrap their head around applying a new model in this pose rather than T-pose, especially for more complicated models. So what I'm going to quickly show you is how to get him into a T-pose to make it easier to apply new models to him. So what I'm going to do is going to select the armature, get into pose mode. Now in pose mode, I'm going to head over to this tab. Only select the first bone layer, ignore the second layer because that's just utility bones that you can ignore. Again, watch other tutorials for explanations for that. Right, so I have a handy dandy list that I wrote up here for what bones to translate in what ways. So basically what we want to do is grab the root bone over here. Here it is, root. And also use this find it and select. So with that selected, I go over here to item, change the X rotation to 90, the Z rotation to 90. Now he's standing up facing front ways. So when you hit 1 on the D-pad to go to the front view, facing front instead of where he was over here. Okay, now you're going to need to grab offset 3, is the shoulder bone, rotate that Z 180, and then Y negative 90. That's that arm post. Over here we need offset 6, Z 180, Y 90, positive, not negative. It's all set. Then we need to grab offset 009, which is his hip, Z 180. Do this same thing on offset 12, 180. Now he's almost there. Just got to grab his ankles. Is offset 11. That on negative 70 on the Z. Grab offset 14. set that again on -70. Now Mario is all nicely, easily posed up. See? From here, now we need to set the rest pose. So what that does is it sets the rotation of the bones at its current state and makes that the new 0 state. As you can see, the foot is still at -70, but if I apply the rest pose, now you'll see that it is set to 0. So this is the new rest pose. From here, you are free to edit Mario and do whatever you want. And then after that, you set it back to the old pose, and then you can export it back into the game. I'll explain that a bit later. First, what I'm going to show is how to quickly import an outside model in and then add it to Mario and replace some geometry. I'm not going to go too deep on this because my very first tutorial covered quickly editing and doing stuff, and this isn't a Blender tutorial. This is just a quick importing exporting tutorial for the Mario 64 Decomp. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to head into object mode, head back to here. Then I'm going to import a little model I've made earlier. So there you go. As you can see, the colors aren't as bright as this. That's because this is using Blender materials, not the Fast64 materials. So the first thing we want to do is convert, go to Fast64 and click this button up the top. That'll convert any Blender material into a Fast64 material. So that's all done. Now what I'm going to do is hit Ctrl J to merge into one mesh rather than the separated meshes that it was. Now I'm going to go into wireframe quickly and scale it and position it so it approximately replaces Mario. There, that'll do. Next step is to go in and make sure it doesn't have any vertex groups. It just has its materials, and to clear any armature modifiers or skeletons that it previously had. You don't need them anymore. It'll interfere once merging with Mario. So now what I'm going to do is make sure that's selected, then select Mario. It has to be in that order or else it'll merge the wrong way, because objects merge into the last object selected. So this will merge the head into Mario rather than Mario into the head. So now what I'm going to do now is Ctrl J to join them up. And now Mario's as he is. And I'm going to go into edit mode. For now, I'm just going to quickly hide these. I'm going to go over here to the vertex groups and I'm going to find the vertex group for the head. In this case, I believe it was the first one. Yep. That vertex group is important to know because Mario's eye states for the blinking and stuff is linked specifically to this display list. If you apply the head to another bone, it won't blink. So what I'm going to do is, with that selected, I'm going to delete the head. I'm going to unhide all that. Now I'm going to assign that to that group. Now if I select that, it's selected. Now I'm going to quickly set up the blinks again. Since we don't need these anymore, I can delete them all up. I'm going to go to the eye. I'm going to add 3 more of these materials. This is half eye. This is closed eye. This is dead eye. From here, I'm going to change all the presets to shaded texture and select the correct texture, making sure to clamp in this case and setting it to RGBA 16. I'm going to repeat these on the other two. And then I'm going to go back to the original eye texture and make sure that is clamped set to RGBA 16. Now I'm going to select the armature, go into pose mode, go to the second bone layer, find the switch. Now I can see all the switch options for the blink states, so I'm going to change this to half and make sure it is setting the new eye texture. And then I'm going to rinse and repeat for the rest. So now those switches are set. With that set, you are almost there. The only thing left to do now is reset the rest pose. Now before I reset him back to his original pose, I am going to quickly show you what it would look like if you did not reset it back to the old pose. I'm going to grab the code for his idle, put it here and import animation. So now as you can see, this is what he would look like in game. Complete mess. So let's undo that. Now let's start applying the rotations to reset him. Again, grab the shoulder, 180 on Z, and then -90 on Y. For the other shoulder, 180 on Z, +90 on Y. Grab both feet and go 70 on the Z and hit Alt Enter to apply to all selected bones. I'm going to do the same for the legs. For 180, I'm going to grab the root, set the Z to -90, and then the Y to -90 as well. Now he's reset back to his rest pose. I'm going to go back to Fast64 and apply rest pose. So with the rest pose reset back to the original one, it is pretty much ready to export back straight into the game as it is. Can obviously continue to work on the head and the hand poses and get it all done, but as it is done. I'm not going to explain the exporting process again because it's already been done in one of my previous tutorials. That is all done. Have a good day.